So in One Piece, with all of the characters we have, today we're going to be talking about the character of Bonney, because I'm interested in knowing who is actually Bonnie's dad, Bonnie's father, you know? And through the story, we also understand that Kuma is not her dad. He's not the biological dad in a way. And so to understand or to even speculate where her father is from or who he is actually, we're going to be starting to talk about her mother, Ginny. And Ginny, we understand from her backstory that she grew up with Kuma. She grew up with Kuma alongside him because they were in the beginning slaves together on the God Valley, and they escaped from that very tragic, story. I will let you go watch my my other video, But from escaping from that literal hell, they were actually able to live for a little bit together on Kuma's island while Kuma was being a priest. But after that, some stuff happened and they became employees, or like they started working for the Revolutionary Army. Kuma was one of the top people in the Revolutionary Army, and Ginny was actually one of the generals in one of the part of the world in One Piece. And from there, Ginny was actually on a mission at some point, and she got captured by somebody. That somebody we don't know. In the anime, we just got a few shots here and there of who it might be, and from all I can say, we just saw that person's feet. And from their feet, it looks like maybe a God's Knights or something. And that's why we're talking about it throughout this video. So stay with me until the end, and please subscribe, like this video. Thank you. And so as she gets captured, she went and she became actually a slave. She became the woman to a celestial dragon for a couple years. And after all of those years, she got released from that place, from Marijua. But after we discover what actually happened, she got away, yes, but she got away with a sickness that Saint Saturn actually gave to her in a way, because they were testing that kind of sickness on people, and, Ginny was one of those people. And that sickness, what it does is, as soon as your skin sees the sunlight, you will burn and die, literally. And as soon as she got away and Kuma found her, he found her with Ginny, and she didn't survive herself, but Bonney did. And Ginny's last words to Kuma was actually to protect Bonney, and please protect her throughout her whole life in a way. And Kuma truly took that promise and literally took it to the extreme in a way. And from there, we have little Bonney that's just born, and she's still little, and Kuma protected her from that day, and he became literally the biological dad to Bonney. And at this point, now we have multiple options. We have multiple people that can be the father to Bonney. So now we'll see what the options are. For option number one, we have Saint Saturn. Saint Saturn, let's go with that option. In that option we have, let's say that he saw her and he actually liked the way she looked or whatever. He ordered some of the God's Knights, for example, Shamrock or whatever, to go and pick her up. And that's what he did. He picked her up, he got her, and he actually just started testing on her to fight, for example, the Revolutionary Army, because he knew she was in the Revolutionary Army. So, he captured some of the enemies so that he can test on them, and then he released them just like the insects. He always talks about those people like that, So in that option, maybe Saint Saturn just took her and wanted to test on her, and he tested on her, and after he was done, he just threw her like trash, And the second option, maybe it's a God's Knights at that point, and maybe we're talking about Saint Garling. Maybe Saint Garling wanted to actually have a couple more kids or whatever, and he found her as attractive or whatever. He took her from wherever she was, did whatever he had to do with her. I mean, not the right way, of course. But after that, after he was done with her, maybe Saint Saturn at that point took her away from the trash where she was, after being thrown away by, for example, Saint Garling. And so, just like I said, at that point, he just took her and he started testing on her until, he just threw her away. Third option, we have maybe Shamrock. Shamrock might have been interested in her a while ago, and from the feet of, just the feast of what we saw on the anime from the last episodes. Maybe he was a god's knight because it looks fit and it looks like he was wearing a suit or a uniform or something, and he was probably very strong. I don't think he was a marine because I don't think the Marines were at that point gonna fight off the Revolutionary Army. But maybe it was Shamrock. I'm putting my option on Shamrock. Maybe. Then when it comes to option number 4, I'm gonna say Saint Charles. Saint Charles from the past, he always had a very nasty side about him, and maybe something happened and Saint Charles actually was looking at Ginny from far, and he was like, you know what, she is pretty, let me actually get married to her and she's gonna become one of my wives. And after a couple years he was done with her, and then Saint Saturn at the end, boom, took her and tested on her. Literally in all of the options, Saint Saturn at the end is going to take her and he's going to be testing on her. Meaning that after what she went through already, she got thrown away by whoever took her in the beginning, and then Saint Saturn tested on her because, you know, she got sick with that incurable sickness, and that she died from it right in front of Kuma, you know. And at the same time, that same sickness got transferred towards Bonney because in her DNA, and thank God they were able to, you know, take care of her, and Vegapunk was able to actually cure her. Thank God for that. But other than that, she would have been gone just like her mom, Jeannie. So in our option 4, Saint Charles probably, maybe took her as a slave woman or whatever for a few years, just like I said, and then got thrown away just like all of the other women he took as wives and all of that, you know. And that's pretty terrible to say, but that's the reality of the celestial dragons, you know. And after that option, we're moving on to the option where I don't know who it might be, but it might be somebody from Marijua. So she got captured, let's say one of the God's Knights, let's say one of the Marine admirals or something. And then somebody in Marijua actually liked her so bad that they actually took her and became a slave for a few years, and then got transferred towards Saint Saturn to become, you know, an experimental subject, you know, which is very terrible. But from all of these guesses, so we have option number 1, Saint Saturn, option number 2, Saint Garling, option number 3, we have Shamrock, option number 4, we have possibility of Saint Charles, and option number 5, you let me know in the comments below what you think, who you think her dad is, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.